Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. This is Mama T speaking. It is August 23rd. August 23rd. I'm here tonight. I've been doing a lot of following, a lot of watching, a lot of videos. My heart still goes out to Nolan Wells' family, trying to find the answer, trying to find the truth of what happened to their baby. Um, I can relate because I have children, I have a son, and I can relate. Um, that's where I'm at. So we're here right now, and I have questions and answers, and I'm gonna give my opinion. Why? Because I feel like it, and I want to speak on how I feel and raise a couple of questions in case anyone is um, watching what I speak about and give my opinion on. Maybe someone may have an answer, and it might be another thought. And I always do believe and think that two heads is always better than one. So when we got multiple, because there's a multiple content creators out there, YouTubers and official people that are knowing how to dig up information and investigate properly and all that other good stuff. Yeah. So with that being said, um, all our minds collectively
Hi.
together
And no one
is
seemed prepared to answer the question that
amazing,
followed. That one
and we
detail would
could
become one of the most
probably
haunting elements
help
of the entire case. Nolan
resolve
Wells had gone out on a boat
situations
with people he trusted. The
um,
destination was a remote island along the
pertaining to
Mississippi Gulf
Nolan
Coast
Wells.
during a 4th of July weekend that was supposed to be ordinary.
Um,
Instead, somewhere
some of the
between the
questions that I
island and the
have,
return journey, Nolan disappeared. There
I'm
was
not
no
quite sure
confirmed
if anyone
goodbye,
have asked. I'm
no
gonna
clear
give an
distress call from
example.
Nolan himself,
I'm gonna go
and no
back a little
explanation that
bit.
has
I
resolved the questions
recall,
surrounding his final hours.
and
2
these are
days
just
later, his
things
body
that
was
I have been
recovered.
watching in
Yet even after that
various
discovery, one of the most basic questions remained
videos from
unanswered. What exactly happened to
beautiful,
him? His
smart,
official cause of
intelligent
death remained
content
undetermined. For his
creators
family, the
that have
investigation did not
mentioned,
end with
said
the
something
recovery of
quickly
Nolan's
and
body.
ran
It
on
became the
past
beginning
by.
of a much
Well,
more painful
I'm
search,
still
one
lingering on
involving
it
phone
because
records, boat movements,
there's
witness
certain
accounts, and a
answers that I have
timeline they
not
say
yet
still
found.
contains troubling gaps. Every
Um,
new piece of information raised
I
another
truly
question.
hope
Every answer seemed to
whichever
reveal
way that
another
this
unknown.
decides to
His name was
go,
Nolan Wells. He was only 18 years old.
that
He had a life
it
ahead of him,
gives the
and the
family
circumstances surround every man on the
peace at
wall
the
will say
end
there may be no sign. Before going deeper into the
as much as
timeline,
they
there is
can,
something important to understand about this
considering,
story. This
right?
documentary examines the death of a young man
So
under
let me go back for a
circumstances that have
second.
not
Yeah.
been fully explained.
One
It
of the
includes
questions that I
discussion of an
had
unresolved
in
death,
my mind
disputed or
was
incomplete
I
investigative
recall seeing
details,
a
and a
video,
family seeking answers about what
and it was
happened
talking
during Nolan's
about
final hours.
Warren's
Some of the
stepmom,
information comes from
which is
official
a
records and
judge,
public statements.
and she went to
Other
school
details involve witness
with
accounts,
Christine,
reported evidence, or
and
questions that remain under
she
investigation.
had reached
The
out to
purpose is not to
Christine,
declare what
because I do
cannot yet
believe
be
one of the
proven.
boys did mention that
It is to follow the
it
timeline
probably was
carefully
Warren
and examine the
mentioned that,
details that continue to
yeah,
leave
it is
one
true. My
central
mom
question
reached
hanging
out
over the
to her
case. What
and
happened to
stuff like
Nolan
that.
Wells before that boat finally
My
returned to
question
shore?
is
If you
the
are just
way that
finding this
she
case,
did,
understand why the story has
woman to
continued to
woman,
attract
guys.
attention. Nolan Wells' death is not simply a
Something
headline
happened
about an
horrific to your
18-year-old who never
child,
made it home.
and another
It is a
woman
case
where
built
your
around a
child
timeline
was
that still
around
contains
their
unanswered
family
questions, and around a
text you
family
and
searching for
say,
clarity about what happened
this
during Nolan's
is
final hours.
XYZ,
That means every
so and
detail
so,
matters.
so and so mother.
And to understand
Um,
the case, we have to start
don't
with the
quote me the
place where the
exact
story
wordings, but
unfolded. Porn Island can look
and
almost untouched.
this is who I
From the
am.
mainland, it is difficult to imagine
And
the island becoming the setting
when
for a
and if you
tragedy.
want to talk,
But its isolation is exactly what
here's
makes the
my
events of
number.
July 4th, 2026 so
What?
important. The island lies roughly
I'm
5
stuck
miles
right
off
there.
Mississippi's Gulf Coast, south of Ocean Springs,
What does
stretching
that
for
mean?
approximately 11 miles through the Gulf of Mexico.
Right?
It is federally protected wilderness.
Woman to
There are
woman.
no permanent
What
residents,
does that
no
mean?
regular staff,
Why would you
no
text a
drinking water
person like
infrastructure,
that?
no medical facility,
Why
and
would you
across
text
much
a
of the
person
island,
like that,
reliable phone service is
knowing what
unavailable.
she's going through
Getting
at
there
that
means
point?
traveling by boat.
Where's the
Leaving means doing the
condolences? Where's
same.
the
Once someone is
heartfelt
on Horn Island,
conversation,
the distance
woman
from the
to woman,
mainland
mother to
becomes more than
mother?
geography. If
Where is
something
that
goes
at?
wrong, immediate help is not necessarily close by. And on
That's deep
Independence
for
Day
me.
2026,
That's
hundreds of
very
people had
deep,
made that journey. Estimates
right?
place the holiday crowd somewhere between 200 and 300 people.
Another
Many were
question.
young, and many had connections to the Ocean
Warren
Springs
was
area. For people
having an
familiar with the
interview
Mississippi Gulf Coast, spending the 4th
with
of July on
one
Horn
of these
Island was not
leprechauns,
unusual. Boats gathered
and
offshore, groups filled
in
sections
the
of the beach,
interview, he
friends
had
spent the holiday
mentioned
together in the
about,
middle of the Gulf. But the
about
farther everyone moved
15 to
from the
30
mainland,
people.
the farther
They
they
had a
also
big
moved from
party, so
immediate
they had to have
oversight.
like 3, 4
Nolan Wells
boats.
was one of those young
How
people
come
who
we only
traveled to the
hearing
island
about
that
one
day.
boat?
He had gone with friends, several
What
of whom
happened
he had
to the
known for
other 3
years.
boats?
Among them was Warren
If you
Hudson,
left, the
described as a
last time
close
you
friend
saw
dating
Nolan
back
was
to
at
8th
3
grade.
p.m.
Jack Spatello, Morgan Seymour, Trace's
and
Tin Shepherd,
as you
and
was
Javon
headed
Williams
out,
were
something
also
happened
part
to
of the
the boat,
group.
or
These
it
were not
started
strangers brought
happening to the
together for a
boat
single
right then.
afternoon.
You
They were
left
young men who had
people
grown
on
up
the boat
around
and
one
y'all
another and, according to the
trying to
public
make it on
accounts
out there
surrounding
to
the
get back
case,
home.
had established
That doesn't make
relationships
sense
built over
because if
years.
a boat was
But one
sinking
aspect of the group later became an
and
important part of the broader public discussion. Nolan was the
I got
only
people on
black
the boat,
member of the group.
I would want
The
to
others
get
were white.
them off the
That fact
boat,
by itself
wouldn't
does
you?
not establish what
Because I
happened to
wouldn't want
Nolan.
nothing to happen to anyone.
But as questions about
But
his death
anywho,
intensified, his race
so
became
you
part
did.
of the
People
wider
still was on it,
conversation surrounding the
and you
investigation,
guys
public
left,
reaction, and the demand for
and
answers. And there was another detail that would
you
become critical when
that was the
investigators
last time
began
you really
reconstructing the
saw
day.
Nolan and so forth
The
like
group had
that,
not traveled to Horn Island on a
and not
single
one
boat. There were
friend
2 separate vessels.
out of the whole
And that is
clique
where the timeline begins to become
decided
much
to
more
stay with
complicated.
Nolan
Warren Hudson was aboard a
just to make
24-foot
sure
tide line.
you're all good,
Nolan traveled
that
separately
he
aboard a
would be good
22-foot
because one was
Triton
being
offshore
left,
boat.
and
The
if
2
one was
vessels
being
left
left
on their
behind,
own, but both ultimately
how do you
reached
not
Horn
get
Island.
concrete
For
information
several
on
hours,
what
there was
boat he was
nothing
going to get
publicly
back on to
known to
get
suggest
back?
that the day would end in
Why was that
tragedy.
not a concern?
The island was filled with the
Okay,
familiar
let's
sounds
talk
of a
about the
4th
other
of July
part.
gathering along the
Warren
Gulf
said
Coast. Boats
that his
positioned
brother got
offshore,
into an
music
altercation,
carrying across the beach, and groups of people
I guess
spending
he
the
got
holiday
punched in the
together
nose
far
or
from the
whatever.
mainland. For
When
a
he
while,
heard
it
about
appeared
he
to be an
sprint
ordinary
over there. No, he
celebration.
didn't.
Then the
He
accounts of
ran
what happened
quickly over
during
there
the
to get his
afternoon
brother, 'cause
began
that's
to
his
separate.
brother, right? But
According
Nolan
to an
is just
internal
like his
document
brother.
obtained by ABC
That's
News
his
from the
best
Mississippi
friend.
Department of Marine
It was
Resources,
all right to leave
witnesses
him,
on Horn Island
but you
reported
make sure
seeing
you got
Nolan
your brother,
consume what
your
they described
biological
as a
brother,
significant
right?
amount of alcohol during the
Yeah.
gathering. The
These are
document was dated
questions
July
that
5th,
come
one
up
day
in my
after
mind
Nolan
when
was
I'm
reported
hearing all
missing,
the
and
stories
had
that
been
I'm hearing
circulated
it
among search personnel.
from video
That
to
distinction
video
is
to video
important.
to video,
This was
and
not
it's
presented
like,
as a final investigative conclusion.
what's
It was an
missing from
internal
this puzzle?
communication documenting
Um,
information that had been provided to authorities
I am
early in the
not
search.
saying that
In other
these
words,
young men
investigators were already
did
being
something to
told
Nolan.
something
I don't
about
know.
Nolan's condition on the island.
I
But
don't
that was
have a
not the only
clue.
detail recorded in the document.
My
Witnesses
opinion
also
is
reportedly
something
told
does
investigators
not
that Nolan had been seen with a
sound
woman while on Horn
right.
Island. Her name
As
would
a
later become public
mom,
as Katie McCornack.
and if
At that
anyone
point,
isn't
however, her
mom or
identity was not
auntie
yet
or
widely
whatever,
known.
or
And that
uncle or
seemingly simple
whatever, a
detail, a
father,
young
a
man seen
dad,
with a
whatever you
woman
want to
during a
call
crowded
it,
holiday gathering,
when
would
something
eventually become
happens
another piece of the
horrific to
timeline
you,
investigators had to
you
examine.
would want to
Because the
know
question was no longer simply
what
where Nolan had.
happened. You will want to know what happened. In every detail, you will want to know what happened. You will want to know and understand to the degree of what happened to my loved one. And you don't care how you go about getting it, when you're going to get it, you want it right now as possible, but you want answers. And then you want people to be held accountable. Or you want some understanding to where you can have closure. And when I see that these young men, to me, this is to me, in my opinion, seem very disrespectful. Very disrespectful. And you're upset with the parents because they are digging for answers. You didn't do anything wrong, right? So why are you upset with them to want to dig for answers? Yeah, granted, it may make you feel some kind of way. It may. I get that. But you would want to, if that was your brother, the one that you ran after, right? Something happened to him, you would want answers. Am I correct? So as watching some of these videos, this is one of them that I stumbled over. And I want to give you some things that I was watching. This is like an update of everything that's been going on about from a month ago up until now. This is like the update part. So watch this with me a little bit. This video is fantastic. Follow this video. What's the name of it? Matter of fact, let me do this correctly because I don't.
We would go over to Wyatt's house, and Nolan, we would all be in the backyard, whatever, doing something, and Nolan would be inside on the couch with Wyatt's dad, and they'd just be cutting it up all night.
Yeah, well, check it out.
I bet you $1,000,000 if it was 5 black boys and 1 white boy on the boat. By now, there would have been an arrest, there would have been a warrant, there would have been a seizure, but because America doesn't believe that Black Lives Matter, they trying to act offended because we want to ask the question, what happened to our brother? And when we ask the question, what happened? The response is we're still gathering information. We're waiting on toxicology, waiting on the grand jury. Am I my brother's keeper?
All right, let's stop right there for a minute. We waiting on grand jury at this point, right? Because everything then came in. Pause for a second. My people. I know I'm not that savvy when it comes to the court system. But how do they pick the people for the grand jury? I'm curious. And in picking those people, is that too going to be a secret? And I'm leery about all these darn secrets, leprechauns. Why do we have secrets when it comes to the justice system? Why? Aren't we all people? Okay, let's say we can't be in the courtroom with them. That's fine. But why do it have to be a secret? What is the way possible to change that policy, that procedure? That way of been so many years ago. That's where I'm at. At this point, we're not the Martin Luther King and no, yeah. Let me just say there. We're not the Martin Luther King back in the days. We're not. We're not the Malcolm X. We're not. We are people individually, and we collectively are banding together like we should. Like we have been missing to be. And I think collectively we need to get together and stop all this madness within the system. I don't know how to go about that, but I'm eager to learn because I think the system sucks. And it benefits certain people for a very long time. And I think at this point, when we out here trying to fight, when we see something happen, we as a people is what I'm saying, okay, people? And we trying to fight this particular DA and that particular sheriff and that particular cop. And I think it falls on deaf ears and we running through a rabbit hole for no apparent reason when where we need to be going at is to the system. And I don't think that we should do one or the other. I think that we as a people need to do it all at the same time. We have enough people in this world, and we have enough smart people that's up there with the court system, the political game, and so forth like that. And then we have the people that's just on regular ground that can reach the people to address things that's on the ground. Then we have people that's also that are within the police department. We should reach them on that level. We have more than enough people where we should not be doing anything one at a time. It should be all collectively. Because in my theory, this is just my theory, leprechauns have been out running wild. They running amok. System has been working for them for a quite a long time. And at this point, we need to sincerely find a way to put a stop to the madness. Because at the end of the day, everybody eat, sleep, and do number one and number two the same way. Females, you can stand up in a dress the same way that I stand up in a dress. Males, you put your feet the same way and your pants the same as a black person as a white person. It doesn't matter. I don't understand why is it that we cannot be able. My peoples, we need to band together more. And I know that we're on a bandwagon of this now at this point, thanks to who's in the office. But I think we need to move a little bit harder and a little bit faster. I think that we should definitely really get our heads together to fight the system, to break it down, and help build it back up the right way for everyone, like it's supposed to be. That's what I think, for everyone. You know? It's been too long, and enough is enough. But listen up, listen.
That's the question underneath every delayed subpoena, every sealed file, every complaint filed against a grieving mother's nursing license. Instead of asking whoever left her son on the island, the institutional Mississippi still muttering Kane's excuse is not my problem. I wanted to come to Mississippi today from Georgia to let the system and to let the establishment know, let that be the last time you try to intimidate a black mother. She's got every right to fight for her son, to stand for her son, to question her son, and you better not mess with her nurse's license. Leave that black woman alone.
Well, we actually have proof that Grandpa Jerry was actually on Horns Island as well, which makes sense why he was able to call the captain, because he physically was watching it. Now, who was Wyatt on the phone with? Well, we know he was on the phone with Cecil Call, but let me show you Grandpa Jerry.
Uh-huh.
White-haired old man.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I just want you.
And she also gave us a little specialty on Wyatt. And Now, I thank her for that treat because we all been asking the same question. Where is Wyatt? Why haven't we heard from Wyatt? Where are his boats that one we know was missing from the MDMR report? We just have no information, no nothing on him. He is seemingly is in the dark and like he's just disappeared somewhere. So where is he? And why haven't we heard from him?
Wait, text messages were just released between Nolan's mom and Warren that can answer a lot of questions. I need you to, I'm gonna go through these text messages one by one. You tell me, does it look like somebody like Warren is trying to hide something, or does it look like he's being a true friend? Now, first of all, I thought that Nolan's dad showed up unannounced as the way, Warren and them told the story. Here's the text message, July 5th, 2 in the morning. Nolan's dad is out the house to pick up the key. Remember, he was trying to get the key from Jax. He said Jax couldn't find it, or it was taking forever. Then somebody else found it, and he didn't trust Jax after that. So then here's the next one. That day in the afternoon, hey, Warren, what kind of sunglasses did Nolan wear?
Okay. Let's stop right there. What this young man is showing is text message from Christine to Warren. Christine in the black, Warren in the blue. Right? So what he's saying is that Christine had definitely had text before Nolan's dad went out there to pick up the keys. But in the interview with the Leprechaun, Warren stated how it played out, like as if all of a sudden they was tracking, because they was tracking someone according to their testimony, and they can see that Christine was heading towards Jack's house, I guess. My other question is, guys, and if y'all know the answer, please let me know. So whose house did Nolan spend the night at? Right? And if it was Jack, so is he cool with Jax or he's not cool with Jack? Is Warren the best friend or is Warren not the best friend? Or it, so on the 3rd, because Christine said that her son cooked her dinner and then he head out and said he loved her and everything. And then he head out and went on to spend the night at his friend's home. So where he spent the night at, he didn't use his phone taking pictures and having a good time. Maybe they probably was drinking. Who knows? You know, these are young guys and they in their later teens. So we get that. We know how that go. But no evidence, no pictures, no nothing of none of that. And when he spent the night, they woke up in the morning and everybody else went to go get boats while he did what? Sit at the house? Doing what? Watching. He had to have his phone. Because if he's at the house by himself, while they go get the boats and hooking everything up and getting all this ice, what is Nolan doing at that time? And as we know, our young people, which we do, our young people got that phone in their hands, right? The 3rd is when he went to go spend the night. On the 4th, he waking up, waiting for them to come back so they all can go and get on the boats and head to that island that they all went to, right? Keep that in mind.
I'm pretty sure Ray-Ban's Mrs. Christine. This is Warren. Then Warren says, hey, Miss Christine, just wanted to check in. We went out this morning to look, and I've been on and off the phone with Jackson County Sheriff's Office today. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to reach.
I had to pause it. Hey, Miss Christine. Just checking in. Let you know that we went out to look. We went out to look for who? We went out to look for what? Wait a minute. Let's go back for a second. When they, Warren, called Christine to let her know that they cannot find Nolan and if she has spoken to him, and then when she says, no, I have not, what do you mean? And they like, well, we don't know where he's at, but, you know, don't worry. And she, of course, as a mother, any mother would do that. What do you mean don't worry? Of course I'm going to worry. Where's my son? And then when she does the 360, and she see that, well, he's on land, and they go, oh, well, no, you know, yeah, we got his phone. I wouldn't give a toot horn if you're black, white, or purple. My eyebrow is going to raise, guys. How could that not be for anybody? Right? And so, of course, that's going to put a mom on an alert stats. My thing is, too, once this stuff started happening and you only interacting with the young person, the parents or what? MIA, but then again, the parent did. One of the parents did text her, if you want to talk. If and when you're ready to talk, call me, text me, whatever. This is my number. I can't get by with that one. But, yeah, I just think these young folks is a little disrespectful. Not a little, a lot. And I say that because I have children myself. And I try to embrace the understanding of what type of parent you have, which is myself, to my kids, which they are my children. And I try to say, listen, don't bring no mess to my home. Understand that I am an old school mom. So I want and deserve and demand nothing but the utmost respect. So when a young person is communicating with me, they better be on their P's and Q's in how they communicate with me. And let me just also say, if my children's friends say anything out the way disrespectful to me or make me feel like it's disrespectful, to me it tells me how much they respect my child. Because if you respect my child, you will give me the utmost respect too. I'm just keeping that 100. And I could be wrong. By all means, anyone out there, let me know if I'm wrong about that. But that's what I do over here. Um, my children, when they bring their friends, they better have the utmost respect. And I have to do that because you have to teach your children how to respect one another. When my children go to their homes and to hang out and stuff like that, you better give their parent the utmost respect. That's what we do. So when I hear these young leprechauns and the way they talking to Christine like as if they're equal, as if they on the same age bracket, like as if it's all good and oh yeah, nah, no this. And the way how now that I'm seeing videos of these young men saying Christine is the one that started this race thing and all this other mess, who are you talking to? I wish one of mine would say some mess like that out their mouth to an adult. That's my job. That's not theirs. So that will be even more grounds for me to be very, 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 very disappointed in the parents of these young men. Because their conversation is disrespectful. Very much so. Especially that this is someone's mother. And this is supposed to be your best friend's mother that you love so dearly. So if you do, did you not have respect for him? Where you can't respect the mother? Or is it hats off when she is digging to find out the truth? Which she never mentioned, so-and-so, you did this to my child. She never did that. So why would you guys, anyone, especially the big leprechaun on the interview, disrespect this woman? Why would anyone disrespect any mother when they lost a child? Any parent. Because not only they disrespect the mom, they disrespect the father too, like as if he's obsolete. And he's not obsolete. He's there. He's here. You know? So it makes it harder to believe that you guys really are mourning too. You guys are going through it too, that you lost your best friend. It makes it hard. You guys make it hard for a person to see that when you're disrespecting. How could you not even see that? Why is that not a lesson to be learned as growing up? Oh, so are we raised differently? Let me go further.
Child, she says, thank you. Warren says, we are all praying for your family. We appreciate it. Then it gets deeper. Now, right here, she asked Warren what boat he was on or what boat Nolan was on. He said, Nolan went out on the 22 Triton offshore, and I was on the 24 tide line. I ain't heard much about the 24 tide line. On the way out, we were on separate boats. I went back on the Triton DMR, and the sheriff office has all this information. Then if you look again, Monday, July 6th, 1:37 p.m., hey, Warren, can you collect any of Nolan's items left at Jack's house? So it was still items after her father went there? I don't know.
And I can see that part. You know, if it got a little heated trying to get these keys, the father could have got so upset at this point for the way things unfolded, especially when they knew that the father was coming out there to pick up these keys. But if you notice in this video right here, and if you look real close, right here, like the man said, the young man said, that was Monday, July 6th, asking about the clothing, any belongings that Nolan left there. But if you notice, this is on the 20th with a total different conversation. So let me go back. The 6th, that's when they found Nolan's body. But Warren, you didn't respond until the 20th. And you didn't even respond. You went on to a total different conversation. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, this is the day of the funeral. From the 6th to the 20th. 6th, 20th. Okay.
No. Then here's one again. Good morning, Miss Christine. I just wanted to let you know that my family and I have been praying for you and your family. Nolan was one of my best friends since we were in 8th grade together. You and Mr. Elmore raised one of the best men I've ever met. I wish I could be there today, but I would never want to take the attention off of your family and Nolan and be a distraction. Thank you for being the best parents that Nolan could have had. This was the day of the funeral, that Monday. Now, these are cut off. I want to know the full message up here, because this is where it seems like it got a little spicy. It appears Miss Christine, Nolan's mom, said exactly where you saw him last. I'm sorry I am asking you to repeat this. 3 p.m. West Tip, north side of Horn Island. Where did you guys launch for? He sent the location. And I don't know why this is blurred out. We launched the boats yesterday evening and left from here this morning.
I don't know, guys. I don't know. And Nancy Grace is all in the midst of this as well. We're going to skip some of that because at the end of the day, I think too much is going on with the Nancy Grace and the Leprechaun Tatum. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I want to show you guys something else that I was looking at. Right? Let's go at. We know his birthday was on the 19th of July. Do you guys know that? I'm sorry, of August. The 19th of August was his birthday, and he would have been 19 years old. That touches me even more. My heart goes out to this family. And guys, did y'all know it's more stuff? But let's listen to this. Let me see.
We done found out that the DA husband is an FBI agent. Like, we can't even...
Well, stop right there. I believe that's not totally true. I don't think that's totally true. Yeah. He might have worked around the FBI back in the days, back in the days, but no, not in the current. But that doesn't mean anything. I'm not trying to take up entirely. I'm just saying I don't think that's totally true. Currently, I don't think he is an FBI agent, but in his day, he dibble-dabble. Can we say that? Maybe? He might have dibble-dabble. Yeah. But listen.
Get help from the FBI. But y'all, hear me out. Whatever's in Nolan's phone, the DA know what's inside the phone. They've been talking to the granddaddy. They've been talking to the parents, the judge. Man, these people are connected. You got governors. You got people that own Horn Island, CETO, public relations. You got doctors, anesthesiologists. Like, these people, this is bad. This is really bad. In GTA, these people could run a whole organ trafficking if they wanted to. This is crazy. This is beyond crazy. They know what's in the phone. They already been in contact with the kids. They know what happened. Everybody just got to stick to the story. That's why they want to all of a sudden demand the phone, because they want to delete what's in the phone that will prove what actually happened to him.
And Nancy Grace just said on her show that there are reports that Nolan Xavier Wells did not have any boogshug in his system. Now, she did say these are uncorroborated reports, but there are reports out there, and we are waiting on the toxicology official report from the state's autopsy.
All right, so what he's talking about, and I do recall seeing that video as well when I was watching the interview of the... It wasn't even the interview of the young men with the big leprechaun. It was him himself talking to the camera, stating what he had heard and he got reliable sources, and he was saying something about, and he was trying to implicate that Nolan Wells dibble dabble in things that are white to go up your nose. Yeah. To me, disrespectful. And not only disrespectful, I think it is stupid. Let me tell you why. Big Leprechaun, at some point in your younger years, you was in football. And you know good and doggone well that if you're a football player, that you must dot your I's and cross your T's because you will be checked. And especially when this young man was supposed to go back to college in July, I want to say July 6th. You know that they're going to be testing and checking and making sure that everything is copacetic. You know this. So for you to even pass that information from some lame person, it must got to be another leprechaun. And repeat that for the world to hear, and then try to blemish this young, beautiful boy, young man, like as if he is that head, and he want to just ruin his life. Really? And he was so intoxicated, and he was on some other stuff. Really? That's disrespectful at its highest degree. I think that's very disrespectful. And I am so glad, of course, they couldn't find no evidence from it. To me, that was something you wanted to throw out there in the social world and let that run. But it was very disrespectful to the deceased and to his family. How dare you? Why would you even stoop to that level? Leprechaun.
See, but it seems that if this ends up being true, which I believe with everything in my heart, that a D1 college athlete going off to play football the week after 4th of July weekend is not going to be putting substances like that or any other substance like that in his body because he knows that he could get tested and he's a committed athlete, and that is not something that they do. Now, if this comes out, I have a challenge to you, Officer Race Batum Tatum. Will you apologize to the world? Because you're the one who said, "Oh, I've got a good friend, a little birdie, who told me that there was a guy giving out copious amounts of boog shug on the island, and that Nolan was taking the boog shug, the white powder, to his nose." Will you apologize, Tatum? Because you're all.
I don't think he'll apologize. I'm going to be honest with you. Now, could he prove me wrong? Sure. But I don't think he have it within him to do. I don't think that he have enough scruples, enough common sense, enough empathy to say, I apologize for repeating that information. Instead, I think he will deny, and act like as if he never said it, even though he know he said it. And even though if you pull up the receipts to show him that he said it, he will still deny that somebody AI made that up and that wasn't him. That's what leprechauns do. They are filled with games. They love tricks. And they reaching for the pot of gold. And they will do anything possible to get it. Leprechauns. Okay? That's my analogy on people that are truly have no morals, no ethics, no common sense, and to be mindful for others when you would do and say just about anything just so you can get the pot of gold. So you say. And little do you know, because I know for a fact, and I know there's people out here in the world, Karma. Yes, that name is deep, ain't it? She's magnificent. She's so strong. And she is so complete. And she's definitely definite. Karma has a way of settling all scores. Karma. I don't play around with karma whatsoever, because she has a way of showing you who she is, why she is, and how it all happens. And the way she spins and touch things in this world that we live in, you would not even fathom the idea of how it came about. And some people, they so in denial, they be like, yeah, but I didn't do that. Why did this happen to me? I don't play around with karma, but apparently leprechauns like this one right here love to throw things out there to hurt others. And do you guys not know that we all came from God? Every last one of us. We all came from God. We did. We all was created to explore, expand, and experience life. We all are an extension of our Almighty, the Creator of all creations. We are that. We are so connected that we just don't even understand how. And it ain't meant for us to understand how, but it is that it is. We are that. We are the extension of God. Every last one of us. So when I hurt you, God is looking at me saying, my child, why would you hurt my child? Because he loves us all. This is where karma comes into play. Because God does not go back on his word. And he doesn't put things on us. When we do certain things that we do, then certain things happen. And that's how it is. Period. And then people will say things like, well, why would God do that? God didn't do that. The choice that you made opened the door for this over here. Karma can be good and it can be bad. You can call it consequences, and consequences are good and or bad. But we're going to talk about karma. So when he doing this to hurt another family for the dollar, that's my opinion. And that's why I call it leprechauns. Everyone, close your eyes. Try to get an image. Think about a leprechaun. Think about a leprechaun. If you can, think about it. Think about it. Now think about the characteristic of a leprechaun. Can you think of that? Now, let's finish watching the case of Nolan Wells.
Always tell me, oh, you're going to have to apologize. You're going to have to apologize.
A Nolan Wells phone evidence torpedo.
2 confirmed witnesses that saw Nolan Wells on the island around 6 p.m. to Triton, as you said, left around 4:30.
What witnesses? Where? Who, what, where, why, and when? The Nolan Wells investigation into the death of a shining star, Nolan Wells, has an altercation witness emerged. A witness that claims she saw an altercation at Horn Island.
We finally heard from the District Attorney of Jackson County, Mississippi. So District Attorney Mickelrath finally sends out an actual press release letter dated for August 18th. And it's very long-winded. I'm going to read it to you guys. I'm going to give you a quick little synopsis of.
We're not even going to do all that. These are just certain updates of what's going on so far. And I'm telling you, the more that we watch this and listen, it's just, to me, it's leprechauns playing games. All I see is leprechauns playing games for the fun fact and hoping that this will die down and it'll blow over, and then they can say whatever it is they want to say. If it's that. If it was an accident, if it was that he was drinking and something happened and he fell asleep in the water, I don't know. I can't even fathom the accident if he was left. Because absolutely no one saw him. And I got to give it to some of these folks that was out there They know how to hold their secrets, boy. I tell you. Because my people don't know how to hold secrets worth a damn. But these folks right here, we might need to learn a trick or two because they know how to hold secrets and they will hold it down. And when they in a pack and they get in their agreements together, they hold it down. I commend them for that. Unfortunately. But it is time. This is 2026. And enough is enough.
Fish. As you can see in this picture of the trident, that's his leg compared to the door, y'all. Just in this area alone, that is deep enough and long enough to place a body.
But then, like, what do you think that you would have seen on the bottom of the floor or something?
Look at their fucking body language.
Or scrambling around, or everybody like in a small space on the boat looking at him.
Morgan tenses up and starts shaking his leg, and you can see his face, and he immediately looks over.
Like, what do you think that you would have seen on the bottom of the floor or something? Or scrambling around, or everybody like in a small space on the boat looking at him.
Warren is staring. Warren, you breathing pretty hard there, Bob.
But then, like, what do you think that you would have seen on the bottom of the floor or something? Or scrambling around, or everybody like in a small space on the boat looking at him.
In my last video, I showed you that there's 2 doors up under here. As you can see up under Wyatt's brother. Specifically some up to 6.5 feet long. Nolan Wells was 6'1". I find it fucking creepy that you would say something like that, Jax. I mean, you said it. Another photo of the trident. I did notice the sticker's different. This one is green, but it could be changed every so often. Oh yeah, look at this. Wyatt's brother Ike has a fishing account. He named it the Fish Killing Machine, but better yet, he states that I have a lot of connections on the Gulf Coast from Alabama to Louisiana. So I guess that allegedly makes sense as to why Wyatt would call Cito, because y'all were brothers, and brothers always share connections. Allegedly, right?
And little birdies are saying, it's not been completely verified, but that I'm hearing that somebody who has an inside source is saying the DA's office in Mississippi is now looking at the Nolan Wells case as a criminal investigation and no longer an accidental drowning. Now, we can only pray that this is true. Obviously, we can't celebrate.
Well, I don't think that's verified just yet. And like, what's his name? Secret Service, Sam? I hope that is to be true. At least someone will be actually investigating. Not that there was a criminal act taking place. I'm not trying to say that, but if you just rule it as an accident, then there is no reason to investigate. So I would prefer for them to investigate. And then, if it happens to be ruled it out, then so be it. This family deserves closure. At the end of the day, this family deserves closure. They're going to hurt and they're going to mourn for a very, very long time, because this is a young man that was just starting off his life, and it was cut short abruptly. And no one knows for what reason. We could say everything happened for a reason. Some people who say some stuff like that, I don't know. All I could say is, because we're not done yet. And God is not done yet. And no man knows what God has in plan. I do believe that this young man, like what they all said out there in Mississippi, that he was a beautiful being. He loved everyone. He didn't have no malice within his heart. He didn't like people to argue, fuss, and fight. And they had the privilege to raise that particular young person. So I give kudos to the family for that. And I know it was a blessing and an honor to have a child like that in their life. I know what they feel it. And you would question so many thoughts, so many things. And, people always say you can't question God, but you can't lie to anyone and say that question wouldn't come to your head. Like, why? What is this message about? What was the purpose for it? So that's why I say it's not over yet. And God has the reasons and the answers to it all. And whether we able to get them or not get them, but it's left up to God because He knows what's going on and why it's going on. And we just got to follow through. So in that following through, we must investigate. Yes. There has been a lot of things that's been going on within the United States of America. A whole lot of stuff been going on. And it has not gotten better. It's been getting worse. And unfortunately, in the world that we live in today, it's going to get a little bit more worse. So we got to buckle up, my peoples. We got to band together and we got to communicate with our young folks. And our young folks need not to be a knucklehead and not listen. Pay attention, protect yourself, stay blessed, and be aware. Life is short. And it doesn't matter who you are, what color you are, how tall you are, how short you are, how big you are, how small you are. We all must be aware. Because things has been going on for years and it's coming to a boiling point. And karma is sitting at the top, waiting. And when things start unleashing, you will want to be in the right space, the right place, and within the right spirit. But one thing we got to know for sure, and I'm talking about my people, if we don't start being as one and stop fighting each other and stop trying to be for the nickel and dime, and you will sell out your own person that looks just like you. And we as collectively, just literally, what is not fair, we need to stand on that, what is not fair, to dismantle that. It's no brainer, man. It's common sense. If you're unfair to one, you're unfair to all. It's common sense. We all belong to the same source. And sometimes I get so upset when I see things like this because I want to scream out and say, stupid, what's wrong with you? We all belong to the same source. Why are we fighting each other? Why we got to keep hurting one another? Why can't we as a people stick together? And even for my content creators, let's not bash another content creator. Because what you flow and what I flow and what that person flow, and if it may be different or off sync, we should still all be banding together, man. Life is too short. And this is why we don't make it like we supposed to. Because we, as a community, cannot even stand together with each other. And we got to stop fighting each other. And then we got to teach others as well out there the same. I don't know. I got too many questions. Not enough answers. It's gone well past 30 days. We're about to be hitting the 60-day mark. And yet we still have no answers. We don't know the grand jury, who's going to be in that. And whatever information that they're going to present to the grand jury, how do we know what information is presented? See, it's like we leaving, once again, ourselves in the palm of the hands of the other leprechauns that has been playing games from day one. They have been playing games. And we as a people are so gullible sometimes. And we thinking we get to a point, okay, now we showing others that we're not bad people. No, we got to stop all that. I know who I am. You know who you are. And there's good and bad in every race. There is. So we don't have to play that game. But my people, we need to stop fighting each other. Sincerely. And we need to look out for each other. And we need to also stop our black on black crime. Just like white people need to stop white on white crime. You know, things happen where you live. But, excuse me, we sincerely need to band together and work with one another and embrace each other and have respect for one another and help each other when times like this come about. There's something else I wanted to show you guys before I get I'm sorry. Before I get off this YouTube here. And I think maybe I probably can't even find it at this point. But like and subscribe. Send me a link of information if you know the questions that I have, that I was asking. Do you think, I got a question. I'm sorry. Do you think that something going on with these mothers? Why would that mother text Christine the way she did? That's one. Where are the other boats and the other young adults that was on the other boats? That's two. And who's the grand jury? Yeah, that's my three. Thank you, good night, and we will talk to you soon.